Hello and welcome to the second round of the Ultimate E-Racing Driver, where we put all of our competitors to the ultimate test of not only strategy and skill, but adaptability. We opened last weekend at Silverstone with the IndyCar, and it was incredibly close racing. And tonight, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, will be no exception as we head to the Nurburgring track, a driver's favorite, but tonight they'll be racing it in V8 Supercars. So without further ado, let's join our driver coach, Enzo, who's going to give us a quick lap.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another onboard of another iconic car at another iconic track. This time it's very different. Obviously we're in Nurburgring, virtually, in Germany, in an Aussie V8, a Supercar V8 Holden, 650 brake horsepower animal, this one. Completely different animal to where the IndyCar was pretty much more grip than power, or very equal. This one is a lot more power than the grip it's got. Constantly managing, as you can see, trying to put the throttle on, it's always trying to wheel spin out. And because of the speed and because of the sheer size of the car, you have to slow it down a lot more than the IndyCar. So you gently get in there, feed the power on. Everything has to be like, you have to ask it nicely, otherwise it bites you. Coming down to the bottom corner now, big bowl, you get the car completely straight, braking gently, waiting on the apex, squeezing the throttle, it forces you out wide. See, you go on the gravel so easy. This kind of corner would be flat out in a Formula car. With this one, you have to lift gingerly through, short shift, managing all that power, otherwise you could be facing the other way very quickly. A very big left-right corner now, trying to get down to the curb. And then this one is important. You have to get such a good exit from here because you've got a long straight. So again, like we said at Silverstone, the first person that gets on the power and stays on the power there wins all the way down this straight. We could get overtaken a lot down into this corner. Last part of the track now, braking is a long braking area. Trying to use all the curb, a bit too much there over the chicane. And then we've got one more corner, it's a long right-hander. Braking it down, third or second gear, feeding the power on again. And that's a lap. This is a hard one, a difficult one to drive, but should be very entertaining.
Nurburgring is known as the green hell, and tonight some of the drivers may just find it that. We'll find out shortly as we head now trackside to our race commentators, Chris McCarthy and Jack Canane. And welcome to the second round of the Ultimate E-Racing Driver, where we put all of our competitors to the ultimate test of not only strategy and skill, but adaptability. We opened last weekend at Silverstone with the IndyCar, and it was incredibly close racing. And tonight, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, will be no exception as we head to the Nurburgring track, a driver's favorite, but tonight they'll be racing it in V8 Supercars. So without further ado, let's join our driver coach, Enzo, who's going to give us a quick lap.
Hi everyone.
Thank you, Gemma. Well, welcome. Round number 2 from the Nurburgring GP in V8 Supercars. If that doesn't get you excited for the racing this evening, I don't know what will. A reminder of the format we will be running. It's the same as ever. Currently, the drivers are out qualifying. They only have 2 laps to qualify, so getting it right is very crucial. That will decide in which heat they go to and where they will start that heat race. The heats are going to be 4 laps each. The top 8 will go through and the top 5 will score points. The rest of the drivers will go into a constellation race, which will be 3 laps long, and the top 5 from that race will join the back of the grid for the feature race. We're going to have 29 drivers there on the grid for the feature race. It's going to be 10 laps long. There is a mandatory pit stop you have to do to take on fuel, and there will be points for the top 10 in that race. This is round 2 of 3, so points are very, very crucial. We'll run through the championship standings when we come back from the next break. We've got a lot of brilliant racing coming up this evening, but we've got lots of brilliant interviews as well. Racing in about 10 minutes time, so to fill in the gap, a couple of interviews. And first, Gemma spoke to the virtual Le Mans 24-hour winner, Nick Tandy.
So Nick, I have to congratulate you because you are now a 2-time Le Mans 24-hour winner, albeit one real and one virtual.
I know, it's funny to talk about, isn't it? But it's like I said to my teammates, and when we were looking at getting involved with it, any win at Le Mans is a win at Le Mans, and especially you look at the competition that was in the race that we were involved in last weekend, and yeah, it was great. It's like you say, a winner in the real world and the virtual world. I'm obviously the first person to do that, and it'd be interesting to see when the next one comes along.
Le Mans is tough. I've done Le Mans numerous times as a journalist. It's tough, but as a driver, it's super tough. The hours that you're racing, being in the car, the nights, everything about it is a massive pressure. But actually, the sim must have been tough too, because you're under the pressure, you're doing it around the clock, you haven't necessarily got your teammates alongside you for the same camaraderie, and you've got to stay focused while sat at home. And, I saw your podium, it was wonderful with the kids and the trophy. But you've still got the family and life going on around you. Working from home is not easy, especially doing a 24-hour race.
No, it's right. It was way harder for me because it's a completely alien environment. When we go races, we go to Le Mans or Nurburgring and do normal 24-hour races. That's kind of, it's what we do. It's what I feel normal and the most comfortable doing.
Yeah.
You kind of get used to it. But obviously, I think before March, the longest kind of race I'd done online was about 30 minutes. And then we started doing some of the IMSA races in the GT cars, and they were 90 minutes. But I'd never done any sort of endurance race online. I'd never done any race with teammates that involves driver swaps. Clearly, I'd never had to set an alarm, wake up in the morning, and try and get your focus ready to go and sit on your sim again in the morning. So it was all completely new. And to be honest, I was a little bit worried going into it. We put the preparation in from a driving point of view, and getting the car ready and getting people quick enough. But then the fact that we had to actually run through this, what was effectively a 26-hour period with kind of 2 hours before the start of the race, it was an unknown thing for me. Luckily, I've got some pretty experienced teammates to help. So it ended up pretty well. It was good fun, a good experience. I'm glad we did it.
You're now in Florida, ready for the real life motorsport season to get back underway for you after 14 days of quarantine. What is the next step for you?
Yeah, so we go back racing, and it'll be funny because I've been to our first races at Daytona coming up in July, and I've been to Daytona probably for the last kind of 8-9 years, but always in January and always for a 24-hour race. And now we're approaching the restart of our season, and we're starting off with short 2-hour 40-minute sprint races at Daytona and Sebring, which typically they're kind of big, long endurance standalone event races. So yeah, it's obviously great to go back to work and go back racing, see all the people that we haven't seen since January. And yeah, I mean, the plan is obviously to hit the track running better than our competition. And I'm kind of hoping that my involvement in the esports scene has been keeping me sharp, and we can get a bit of an advantage.
How ready do you actually feel to get back into a real car? This is probably the longest period you've ever been out of a race car.
Yeah, well, I did consider this before I left the country to come over here, and I actually took one of my my cars, my small racing cars that I've got in my garage, out for a test day at a track, just to get back into the feeling of trying to get a car on the limit, because, you know, like you say, there has been a long gap from people driving anything competitively.
Yeah.
And I remember from years past, if I had we used to have obviously much less races than kind of and testing than what we do now as Porsche drivers. And if I had a 6-month gap over the winter period, I would be absolutely rubbish going into the first qualifying session of the new year. So yeah, it's something that for sure will come up, but it's not, you know, it's not just the drivers. There's a lot of team input that goes into these races as well. So we're hoping we're going to be the ones that have done our homework and get back on it quick.
Well, I wish you the very best of luck, Nick.
Thank you.
Ollie, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a very
Great to hear from Nick Tandy. Well, from a Le Mans winner to a Le Mans podium finisher and European Le Mans Series champion, and to a driver who has used social media to help his career both on and off the track. For those of you looking to gain a few followers, get a pen and paper ready, as we'll cross over now to Gemma Scott, who's catching up with Ollie Webb.
Ollie, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a very interesting time during lockdown to see how e-racing and sim racing has really exploded. You haven't necessarily been right in the heart of the sim racing, but it's something that you've certainly been involved in over the years.
Yeah, I've done a lot of sim racing and sim driving for teams all the way up to Red Bull with the F1 team, and it's been really, really fun now to get back into that on a slightly more arcade level, but to join everyone who's not been able to race in real life and get back on those simulators and race against each other in the community that we have.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it? But let's go back to the real world, because of course your career, like we said earlier, you know, you've gone through the single-seater level, and at one point I remember working with you and being convinced that you'd be heading into Formula One. You've now come across to endurance racing, you've done the GT stuff. You know, do you feel like there's still things that you want to achieve?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we became European Le Mans champion, and my next goal was always World Endurance Champion. But that's still the main goal, especially when we get to the hypercar season of this FIA WEC. So to win Le Mans overall and win that championship would be the next goal. But then I'm always interested to be in new cars. I do all sorts of GT racing with in the Pro-Am stuff, in the Dubai 24 hours and all that kind of stuff. I'd like to complete as many of the 24-hour races as possible. So obviously I've done Spa and I've done Le Mans. I like the endurance stuff and the community it has around us.
What's it like as a driver to be able to have to share a car? Because obviously you came through before you went into endurance, single seaters, it's your race, it's your sprint, you're in control. And you have to lose that element of control and hand it over in trust to another driver.
I was very lucky in most of my years that I have had teammates. It's been very, very good. And the last couple of years has been really nice. We've had Tom Dillman, James Roster, and some really good people in the car. Some good speed, good data to be able to share, good camaraderie, and sensible, good tactics between everyone that makes it really, really fun to race in, as well as competitive. And then you're not as nervous when you're out of the car. But and same in 2014, we won the championship with Paul Lou and Nelson, some great teammates. But you're right, it can either you make a mistake yourself or someone else does, and it's frustrating because you have less control over it because you're not the main person in the car at that time. But it makes it a little bit more of a team sport, which therefore then makes it a bit more enjoyable.
What about away from the track, Ollie? Because you've become this incredibly well-known influencer. Have crafted your life along this way. And what we see on social media looks incredible. You know, you're driving different cars all the time. You're in different places in these very glamorous locations. You know, what's it like to be on that side of things?
Yeah, well, it kind of all fell into place almost by accident. I've always been very obsessed with photography and videography, and I was on Instagram very early and doing YouTube very early, and before it kind of became the phenomenon it was today. I was always using it as just like my kind of sticker book of where I am, and creating little videos all the way since I was in T-Cars when I was 14 years old. I remember back with my manager Michael Bentwood, and before Instagram, I think before even Twitter was there, and I was making these little .mov, like tiny little quality videos that would film on my Nokia 6230, and always been obsessed with it. And it just fell into the right place at the right time, that trying to be as media savvy as I could be, you know, helping sponsors out by creating them content on the side. And then Instagram came along and used the platform and used the fact that we're so lucky to go to the places that we go to. So if I'm in Monaco and I'm racing in Monaco and the race is over for World Series and then the Formula One race is on, make use of every second that I'm not with a client or with a sponsor to document that. And that in turn fell into this following of people that want to follow that lifestyle, and it just grew along with it.
You've done so well, and you're still so young. There's still so much more to achieve as well. Yeah,
I'm hoping many more years in WEC, and try my hand in as many series as I can, and hopefully it keeps going. And obviously motorsport is a tough world. We're out of a job every year or 2 years, depending on the length of your contract. So we've got to keep pushing. But yeah, I'm still in my 20s. I've still got time, so I'm gonna keep pushing and try and do a bit of a Tom Christensen element-ish, and win as many as I can.
We'll be calling you Mr. Le Mans in a few years' time.
Yeah, that's the plan.
And Mark too. Love it. Thank you very much for joining us, Ollie.
Thank you for having me.
Great to hear from Ollie. Well, we are now very close to getting racing underway here in the Ultimate eDriver Series from Nurburgring in V8 Supercars, round number 2. Let's take a quick look at the points before we bring you up to speed with what's happened in qualifying. There you can see Hoggard is your leader, Lullum, Horston, Bortolotti and Mitchell the top 5. But lots of points up for grabs, and it can all change very quickly. This round 2 of 3, and points up for grabs in both the feature race and the heat race. Well, Jack Canane, let's bring you in now. You can talk us through what's happened in qualifying and talk through the grid for this first heat race. All the drivers are going to have one heat race. The top 8 will go through and the top 5 will score points. So finishing in the top 8 is good in this race. Finishing in the top 5 is even better, Jack.
Exactly, it's all about that crucial grid position. Josh Malin taking the overall pole position for the heat races, so he managed to just beat out Liam Lawson to that win in the qualifier. We've got Josh Malin next to Matthew Payne, Phil Dennis, Alex Connor, Jack Crawford are your top 5. Mohammed Ibrahim, the champion from last season, is in 7th place. But here we go, rolling to the grid. V8 Supercars at the Nurburgring is go. Josh Malin leads away straight away. Matthew Payne in 2nd, Phil Dennis to the inside line. Now we're using the non-arena layout of the Nurburgring, so they will not curve off to the right-hand side. They will take the shortcut off the left-hand side through turn 1. So here comes Phil Dennis from a long way back up the inside. He's outbreaking themselves. Contact, and around goes Malin, gets a shove in the back as they come through, trying to sort themselves out. Phil Dennis, Ibrahim is going to take the lead out of all that chaos. Porto drops down, Dennis dropping down, so Ibrahim leads. Matthew Payne 2nd, Ramon Pinheiro is up to 3rd place. So other chaos guys outbreaking themselves in these massive V8 Supercars. But it's Mohammed Ibrahim from 6th on the grid. Matthew Payne is in 2nd, Ramon Pinheiro 3rd, and then Goldstein in 4th, and Jack Crawford in 5th place. Very hard cars to get to a stop, and we just saw what a shame for Josh Malin. Started on pole and just get a touch in the back, and around he went, but Ibrahim leads.
Well, we did say, Jack, there's going to be some unexpected donuts coming this evening. I didn't expect about 10 drivers to be doing it at turn number 1, but Ibrahim it is who leads us. Payne in 2nd, Pinheiro. There we can see Ramon Pinheiro, the Spaniard, in 3rd place. But just keeping these things in a straight line is an achievement. I can tell you that. V8 Supercars, very, very hard to drive now. Lullum is out of the race. Connor is down in 12th place. Disaster for Malin, though. At the moment, he won't even be qualifying through to the feature race. He'll be having to go into the consolation race. He does have time, not a lot of it, though. Just over 3 laps remaining in this race. They are very quick-fire races. All good for Ibrahim, though, but a very chaotic start to get us underway here at round number 2, Jack.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's a move just up ahead. A big move from Porto on Slavin. It gives him a bump in the doors that come through the chicane. Malin has to try and avoid, and I think he's involved in another one as they come through. Up the hill they come side by side. Malin trying to make his way through. These guys are just trying to make their way into the feature race. This is the battle for 8th place that we're looking at. Dennis slots in ahead ahead now. So he was involved in that turn 1 instant as we came through. So Dennis is ahead of them now, but they sort themselves out towards turn 1. So Malin drops behind them again. So Dennis is in the box seat now to try to sort themselves out into turn 1. Down the inside, big move from one of the cars in the background, trying to get themselves stopped into turn number 1. They have to try and avoid. There's even more contact, and around goes Malin and Dennis again, and Alice Powell makes her way through as they come through there. So Dennis now again involved in an incident, and it's just going from bad to worse for these guys. But Alice Powell now trying to battle away as they come through the bottom into the S section for the first time. So it's been chaos in these big cars, in the Holden Commodores and the Ford Mustang GTs. The guys have a choice between these two. A lot of them have opted for the big Holden Commodores, of course equivalent to Vauxhall over in the UK. But these are incredible machines. 6-speed sequential gearbox, 650 horsepower, 5-litre V8. So, and brakes that barely work. So they're very hard to get stopped. So I give these guys the benefit of the doubt. These are very hard cars to drive. But right now, you see Alice Powell is now into the box seat for the features. When you look at Matthew Payne, just got past Ramon Pinero for that segment. Mohamed Ibrahim is gone. Our champion is checking out at front.
Yep, reigning champion Ibrahim away and clear. Payne there in second place, having to defend coming up to the chicane. Pinero eager to get back through. The top 5 score points for the championship. That's something we haven't done in previous seasons. 5 points at the moment will go to Ibrahim, and the winner of this will start on pole position for the feature race as well, where 25 points are up for grabs as they make their way now down towards turn number 1 once more. Given that this is called the Ultimate eDriver Series, we really do put these guys to the test. The cars were voted for by you guys, so the V8 Supercars was the car of choice, and then the track was only revealed just a few hours ago, so they haven't had a lot of time to practice. But that is what we want to do. We want to put them to the test, and there goes Mirko Bortolotti down the inside of Alex Connor. In fact, that's Connor, isn't it, going down the inside of Porto. So got almost fully sideways into the braking zone going down towards turn number 1. But Connor managed to get that move done on the Brazilian Porto and puts himself into 6th place. So he's only 1 place away from a point, with Harry Cottrell in 5th place. Ibrahim, Payne, Pinero, Goldstein, Cottrell, Connor, Porto and Powell, currently the 8 drivers that are going to go through on this penultimate lap. And this is a good lap a good battle there that we are seeing from Cottrell and Goldstein. This is the battle for 4th place, Jack.
Exactly, this is a fantastic noise of these V8 Supercars, and wide from Goldstein ahead. Here comes Harry Cottrell now on the outside, easily done as they made a mistake there to Goldstein, so he drops back to 5th place and Cottrell slots in front. But these cars have a fantastic onboard noise. As we ride onboard, you can see how much they're working the wheel. They're extremely hard cars to keep in a straight line as they come down the long straight, now reaching 160 miles per hour as they come to the end of the braking zone right here, up to 5th gear, up to 6th as they come through this long right-hander, touching 160, creeping up to 170 as they come for the hard braking zone, braking early, down to 2nd gear. But they get it turned into the chicane, and wide goes Harry Cottrell now as they kind of come through, bouncing over the big curves as they come through. Goldstein slots ahead, so that's how easy it is to make mistakes here in these V8s. And through goes Goldstein, takes the place of Harry Cottrell. Alex Connor behind on the final lap now. So Mohamed Ibrahim is out in front, Matthew Payne in 2nd, Ramon Pinero's 3rd. Then we look at Goldstein, Harry Cottrell, Alex Connor, Porto and Alice Powell in that final 8th place. Now here we go, this is Alex Connor trying to get past Harry Cottrell into the braking zone for turn number 1, trying to get the cut back line, but again they have to cut off to the left hand side. Going to try and get back up underneath Cottrell here onto the power, careful not to get it too much on the right foot because you will go around in these big cars. But Ibrahim having no problems out front. But so far the racing has been fantastic, because this is the first time these guys have been out of a single seater in this championship all along.
Yeah, really being put to the test, aren't they? So that battle for 4th between Goldstein and Cottrell has allowed Alex Connor to close in. Alex Connor, British F4 driver, absolutely flying at the moment as they make their way down to the hairpin for the final time in this race. Alex Connor surely is going to try and make a dive down the inside of Harry Cottrell and pick himself up a point here. As we said, the top 8 go through. Alice Powell currently has the last qualifying place through to the feature race. Ibrahim, he's going to take pole position if he wins, but this is the main battle we're focusing on. It's the battle for 4th. Goldstein, Cottrell in the middle of picture, and Alex Connor just behind. It's all going to go off in the chicane, no doubt about that. Harry Cottrell in the middle of our picture. Is he going to get a good exit and be able to get a run? He's going to have to go on the attack to defend at the same time from Alex Connor as they make their way down to the final chicane. Alex Connor looking to the outside here, trying to sell the dummy on Cottrell, not going to be able to do it, and Harry Cottrell, he's gone too deep on the brakes, dives down the inside there of Goldstein and gets the move done round the outside of the segment. Oh, Goldstein taking a spin, Connor's gone through, also Porto has gone through as well. Porto trying to dive down the inside of Connor. Alice Powell trying to make a place at the end there. Ibrahim's had to come into the pit lane, so not too sure what's happened there, but it's Payne who takes the win. Ibrahim will be classified second, then it's Pinheiro, Cottrell, Connor, Porto, Goldstein, and Powell taking the last qualifying place, Jack.
Yeah, I just saw Ibrahim was given a drive-through penalty, so it's exactly like we saw last week in Silverstone with the IndyCars. Remember the last-minute penalty on the final lap, so Ibrahim had to come in and take that. So Matthew Payne will have pole position for the feature race. Ibrahim will start close enough to him, second, so Pinheiro, Cottrell, Connor, Porto, Goldstein, and great to see Alice Powell qualifying as well.
I'm going to ask Gemma Scott to quickly join us for this for the next couple of minutes. We do have a small interval now between Heat 1 and Heat 2. And Gemma has, of course, been doing all the interviews throughout the championship. Not only does this championship bring brilliant racing, as just witnessed, but it also gives us a chance to speak to the drivers and find out their stories of what's got them to the place they are in their career. Gemma, how have you found having a lot more time than usual to catch up with the drivers?
Well, I'm not sure I've had a lot more time, but certainly the drivers seem to have done, Chris. And it's been a real honour, actually, because, you know, it's given me in this time the chance to keep doing what I love doing, and that's interviewing drivers and sports stars and giving. The thing I found, it's almost relatable to the Goodwood Festival of Speed every year, where the drivers are off duty, where the drivers are chilled out and they're enjoying what they're doing and they're happy to chat. And that's the position I found us in over the course of lockdown, where they're just happy to have a 30-minute chat. You know, some of the interviews have gone on so long. Our poor editing team have been frantically trying to cut them down to 3 or 4 minutes, but it's wonderful to see where the passion came from and to see how they've got to where they are, like you say.
Brilliant stuff. There's a particularly good interview coming up later with Alice Powell. We really do look forward to watching that one, so stay tuned. That will be coming after the heat races are completed. We're going to go on to heat number 2 now. Mike Epps is going to be on pole position. We've got Lawson alongside Barrichello in third place, Azam, Hugo de Sadalier, Stuka, Alcaraz, Mott, Hindley, Callum Voisin, and Donaldson, Moore, and Garcia. Sarah Moore, that is, in 12th place. Right, let's get heat number 2 underway. Same format, 4 laps, top 8 go through, top 5 score points. The lights go green as they come across the line, and Liam Lawson is going to lead us down towards turn number 1. Mike Epps in second place there. Barrichello trying to get down the inside as they go in towards turn number 1. As that, contact there between Dudu Barrichello and Epps. Already off from the Garrel. Beached is Alex Alcaraz. De Sadalier is off. We've also got Kasper Stuka, young Kasper Stuka, off a car park in the second corner. Sarah Moore involved in that, unfortunately. She gets going again, the W Series driver. And trying to get going. Couldn't get a lot of traction, and Stuka, he's lost his rear wing, unfortunately. He's going to have an even tougher race now from the back. There's Dudu Barrichello with no rear wing either, so a very interesting race coming up for him. He's in 8th place. He's got Mott behind, who's missing the front end to his car, and Sarah Moore behind that. Sarah Moore's going to try and dive down the inside, so I think we're going to have to come and expect starts like that, Jack.
Here we go. This is Anthony Mott with Dudu Barrichello with the front missing off his car. He was involved in that turn 1, trying to get back up the inside through the Schumacher S's. Mott gets ahead with Dudu Barrichello right on his bumper now as they come back through. This is a crucial spot. Remember, 8th place is you will get through to the feature. Big dive for Barrichello down the inside as they come through. Shoves him out wide. Contact made. Barrichello is ahead, but I wonder will that be looked at? It was a big dive with a proper V8 supercar move right there. Just getting into them, running them out wide. You are allowed to make a small bit of contact in V8 supercars. Mott now going to try and come back. I think Barrichello's letting him back through there as they come back down. But now he may have a run on them as we look back. Here's Hugo de Sadalier, Cian Donaldson as well, battling it out. Here's a Donaldson trying to get ahead of the Sadalier here. So Sadalier missing the rear wing of his car. Now, the rear wings don't do a lot, but they do provide a small amount of rear grip. So he will notice the difference as we look now at de Sadalier across the line. But Liam Lawson leads. Ramiz Azam is now in second place. Mike Epps is third. Hindley, Voisin, Sadalier, Donaldson and Mott are your top 8. Dudu Barrichello Kasper Stuka, all those guys outside of it now. As we look at Anthony Mott slotting ahead of Cian Donaldson now. It looks like Donaldson's suffering with some kind of issue as Barrichello tries to come down the inside. And this is for that 8th place. He's really struggling to get past, but he may be able to get ahead. And of course, he is missing the front end off of his car, which is also not going to help matters. And he's trying to chase after Cian Donaldson for that 8th. And again, he goes down the inside with a huge dive bomb. That was a lovely move from Duda Barrichello and good awareness from Cian Donaldson to give him the room on the inside. Late move, but he's into 8th.
Yeah, move of the day so far there from Dudu Barrichello. I thought he was just about to wipe Cian Donaldson out, but as you said, great awareness from Cian Donaldson. I think the story of today is going to be if you survive turn 1, you're going to go through to the feature race and you're going to take a few points with it, because Liam Lawson is one of the drivers who did that. And as you can see, his car looks like it's just come fresh out of the garage. Absolutely no marks on that car whatsoever. Liam Lawson, he leads us in as he comes on to the back straight. There is Ramiz Azam in 2nd place. Mike Epps is in 3rd. Then we have Ben Hingley in 4th. Callum Voisin in 5th. Hugo de Sadalier, who was one of many drivers racing in the iRacing 24 Hour of Le Mans over the weekend, picked up a podium in his class and tier. Mott in 7th. Dudu Barrichello with some brilliant moves in 8th, so look forward to watching him throughout the course of the day. Then the drivers who are currently not going through to the feature race via this race. Anyway, over the grass there was Victor Garcia trying to go for a move for 8th place. That was that on Barrichello? I think it was that he was trying to go past. Behind is Cian Donaldson, who seems to be getting a little bit delayed through the final corner. So they're going to be side by side as they come across the line to complete half the race.
Yeah, half the race gone. So Donaldson up the inside now should be able to get ahead, and I think Garcia just backed out of that one, not going to battle. So Dudu Barrichello slots into 8th. Garcia trying to make a late move. He's almost touching as they come through the first corner. It looks like Donaldson's struggling with this car. It is extremely hard to get used to. So he's trying to just keep himself clean, and hopefully he'll get through in the consolation race. But Liam Lawson, of course, the Kiwi New Zealander, this is their forte at V8 Supercars in Australia and New Zealand. So this is the racing that they love, and you can see him getting sideways out of the background. Now you can see as well in the background Ramiz Azam starting to come under pressure from Mike Epps. So these are totally different cars to what they're used to. Azam is more used to a Lamborghini Super Trofeo car, and Mike Epps, of course, more used to more karting related stuff. So it's really different. Liam Lawson, of course, going to be racing in FIA Formula 3 when we get going very shortly, actually. So these are very different cars, and I don't think anybody in the grid has ever driven these cars. So it's a brand new experience for everybody.
Yes, it is. Mike Epps, of course, here, former British touring car driver. He's closing in on Ramiz Azam here. We could see a battle developing for 2nd place. You get 4 points if you finish 2nd and 3 for 3rd. So only a 1 points difference, but it does make a difference as to where you start that feature race. So that is something that Mike Epps will have in mind as well as they come around the final corner. You'll start 5th if you finish 2nd and 8th on the grid for the feature race if you finish in 3rd. So there is a little bit of difference there, and that's perhaps a little bit more important than that 1 point that comes with it. Hingley in the background, he is in 4th. Then 5th place, Voisin has a lot of clear road, as does de Sadalier and Mott, starting to settle down this race overall in the top 10, but certainly not in that battle for 2nd place. Epps is getting closer all the time to Ramiz Azam, so we'll have to keep an eye on what happens. Epps about a car length or two behind Ramiz Azam now, as we are looking at Matty Hingley. He's the younger brother of Ben Hingley. Matty racing in karting as they make their way down towards the hairpin. Great to see Matty Hingley with us for this one. It's heat number 2. We're on the final lap of the race now. One more heat coming up after this, then the consolation and the feature race. We haven't seen a huge amount of him, Jack, but Liam Lawson, he's kept his nose clean and he is leading out front.
He's done everything perfect at the start, right? And he's been leading ever since. Been hitting consistent lap times, keeping the big Holden Commodore V8 in check as they come down the final straight for the final time. Liam Lawson ahead of Ramiz Azam, Mike Epps, Matty Hingley, Voisin, de Sadalier, Mott and Barrichello. He's going to hopefully stay in that 8th place in his mind. Cian Donaldson in 9th, and then Garcia behind. But here comes Liam Lawson through the final chicane. Got to be careful not to cut too much right there, or you will get yourself an in-game penalty. So here he comes to the final corner now. Liam Lawson to secure 2nd place on the grid alongside Mohammed Ibrahim. He comes to the line and he wins heat race number 2 behind. Ramaz Azam going to come through to 2nd place, and Mike Epps going to get into 3rd. Matty Hingley in 4th, then Voisin de Sadalier, Mott, and we think Barrichello is going to get that final feature race spot in 8th place. The rest will go to the consolation race, where they'll have to fight once again to try and get into that feature race. Barrichello just going to hold on against Cian Donaldson with the front missing off his car. He just managed to hang off. It's going to be close to the line, those that come across, but Barrichello holds him off for that 8th place, and he is through into that feature race so crucial. He had to fight for it in the consolation race last time, but no such worries. He's straight through to the feature race.
All top 5 there that scored points in that race, scored no points at round number 1. So it's going to look a little bit more busy at the top of the standings, I'm sure, after this. Right, we've got our 3rd interview of the evening. We're going to be now heading over to Gemma, who's with Ramon Pinheiro. He's going to talk to us about his journey to F2 and the problems he then faced when continuing in motorsport.
Ramon, talk to me a little bit, because your career back in the early part of 2000 was really on an upward trend, wasn't it? You came through Formula 3, you came through to Formula 2, and you were looking to be a very, very strong racing driver in that period. What was it like for you racing in Formula 3 and progressing up to Formula 2?
It's a great experience, and obviously the highlight was 2011 when I came third in the F2 Championship. It was a great year, especially the second half, which I was nearly on the podium. I think I missed only one race on the podium.
What was the problem? Was it sponsorship that was really the big barrier in you going forward?
I mean, obviously, we have to put the social context in there, you know. We're coming out of the big economic crisis in 2008, 2009. And I don't come from a wealthy family, from a wealthy background, so all of it was being through sponsorship, or even I set up a crowdfunding campaign to be able to raise an F2 in 2011. Yeah, unfortunately, I had to stop. It's not something I wanted to do, but I had to. I tried to go back for many years, and still now, if there's a chance, I'm giving a shout out right now. If there's a chance to get behind the wheel, I'd love to go back. But
that's what I find interesting, actually, because we've seen you feature across the e-racing platform, especially with our series here, the Isolation series in May that we run. Now we're running the Ultimate E-Racing Driver series, and through that, people are watching and people are recognizing the talent from people on the sims and knowing that that skill can be transformed back to the track, especially with drivers like yourself who have already proven yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm trying to put some time in the sim, you know, especially doing series like this. Things that are being broadcasted, which I have to really thank Enzo and you guys and the crew, because I think you're putting an amazing broadcast into it.
To anybody watching right now, if you've got a sponsorship package you can offer Ramon, we've got a seriously talented previous Formula 2 driver who featured many times on the podium, and would love to be back out. Thank you once again for joining us. Take care.
Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for the show you're putting up. It's amazing.
Great to hear from Ramon Pinheiro. You join us in the middle of heat race number 3 here in the V8 Supercars. It's Bortolotti who is ahead in this one. It's green, then Bart Horst, then Jonathan Hoggard, the guys who are fighting for the championship. Hoggard won last time out in Silverstone, don't forget, in the Indy cars on the final lap. So he's in 4th place. Luke Browning is behind him. Then it's Freddie Spindlow, Will Stevens, then Stevenson, and then Alfred Nilsson. So Stevenson is in that final feature race spot, but it's Bortolotti who leads. It's green, and then Horston. So Bart Horston, of course, the only Australian racing tonight, and of course these are the Aussie V8, so he'll want to do well to represent his country and represent this wonderful sport that Australia has given us with these V8 Supercars. But Bortolotti, of course, fighting for the win last time out in the Indy cars and Silverstone as well. He's out leading, and this is for 3rd place on the grid. And after this one, we'll head to the consolation race, where the guys who finished lower than 8th will fight it out for those positions. I was just looking in the background. The guys are just going so sideways through that last corner. I think they're enjoying the fact that these cars will allow you to start drifting around, because they've been in Formula 3s, which are almost impossible to save a slide. But these guys are stepping the rear out in these ones like it's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I have to say, a fairly clean start. Of course, we did miss the first half of the lap. Chris Tadulu was the only one that... Oh, there we go. Said it at exactly the wrong time. Thank you. Is that Casper Stevenson that was making the contact there? Had to say it. And unfortunately, just as I say that, there has been our first real incident. Of course, Chris Tadulu, he's at the back after an incident at the first corner, but it was a relatively clean start. Alfred Nilsson involved in that, and he's tagged a little bit there by Chris Tarhan. The American now goes through. He's going to go into 10th place. So Chris Tarhan getting through. Oh, and there he's helped round 1-1 as it's now Nilsson who goes back through. So it's all starting to kick off, Jack. Just as I said, we had a clean start to the race. Alfred Nilsson back into 10th. It's lap number 2 of 4. A reminder, this is our final heat. Top 8 goes through as ever. Top 5 score points.
Perfect example of retaliation. So Tarhan gave him a push to pass, so Nilsson just turned him into the gravel. It was perfect. So we look at Will Stevens now, who's chasing after Freddie Spindlow. So Spindlow's kind of lost touch with Luke Browning and Jonathan Hoggard, who are just up ahead of him. But Bortolotti kind of checking out at front. He's doing exceptionally well out in the lead. He's leading away. Mirko Bortolotti and Ben Green following him in second. So the 2 Ford Mustangs are actually out in front as well. So the Ford has not been a popular choice today. A lot of people going for the Holden Commodore, which is a massive car, and the Mustang kind of dwarfs in comparison to it. But I think it makes up for it in the size of the rear wing on the Ford Mustang. The rear wing on the Mustang is almost the same size as the car. So we look at Freddie Spindlow now, in lap 3 of 4. Bortolotti leads. He's had no troubles out front. Ben Green, Bart Horston in third, Jonathan Hoggard, Luke Browning, Freddie Spindlow. There is Jonathan Hoggard, the championship leader, don't forget. So he's fighting away with Bart Horston. So they're together in the championship. And Lolum, of course, who was racing last time out, he has had a terrible heat race, number 1. He's going to be in the consolation race. So essentially, Hoggard and Horston need to get through, and they'll be together on the grid when we go to that feature race. So Hoggard trying to score some good points. We look at Mirko Bortolotti with the 2 Ford Mustangs out in front. Great to see. Yeah,
Bortolotti with Green just behind there. Lap 3 of 4 now, and I guess you could say an ever so slight mistake from Bortolotti that's allowed Green to close in a little bit more as we go on board with Ben Green now. Horston just behind in 3rd place. He's got the best seat in the house to watch this battle. It's what Ben Green does because he's got those drivers in chase. Does he go for a move here, potentially have a little bit of contact with Bortolotti and lose places, or does he just stay where he is? It will affect where they start the feature race. At the moment, Bortolotti will grid up 3rd for the feature race by winning this race, and Ben Green will start from 6th. So there is that difference and a points difference with it that they'll score from finishing 1st and 2nd. I think Green is about to answer my question by making a move as he does. He's going to sit behind going into the final corner. Not really a place you can make a move. What does he do down to turn 1 as they come out of the final corner, getting a little bit out of shape? That's just the norm in these things. I can tell you that really isn't a mistake as we head down towards turn number 1. Green doesn't look close enough to make a move. He's going to fill the mirrors of Bortolotti and sensibly stays behind for the time being as we are now on the final lap, Jack.
You got an idea of how much these cars move around on the braking zone. Ben Green just fighting the rear end to stop it from coming around, but Bortolotti's holding on for now. But Ben Green looking the quicker of the 2 cars, so he may go for a last-ditch move when we come down to the end of the lap shortly. Bart Horston actually not too far off the back of them, actually, so they can't really afford to fight for too much of this lap, so they should be fine if they stay in position. Bart Horston not too far. There he is actually in the background. Jonathan Hoggard just a ways off as well, and Luke Brown. It's that top 5 are very close together. So Bortolotti trying to hold on to his lead position. So the top 5 are all in shot right there. The top 6 actually, Freddie Spindlow just in the background as well. Coming to the Schumacher S's, of course, Ben Green following the Ford Mustang ahead of him. And as they come towards the last couple of corners right now, does Ben Green go for a move into the chicane? He got a great run last time out of the chicane, so it may be a last-ditch move, but we'll wait and see. So here comes Ben Green. Does he get the exit that he needs, or does Bortolotti just have enough? It looks like Bortolotti just has enough to hold on for now. They come to the last chicane. Yeah, he's too far back. There's no way he's going to try anything from that far back. So Mirko Bortolotti, he's done enough. He's led every single lap of this heat race so far. Comes through the last couple of chicanes, and Green getting very sideways over the curbs in the background, so he's not going to have anything on him. So Bortolotti coming through the last corner, then the Italian in the Ford Mustang with another Ford Mustang right behind him. He's going to win heat race number 3. 3rd place on the grid for him. Ben Green is 2nd. Bart Horston, the Aussie, is in 3rd. Then Jonathan Hoggard, Luke Browning, Freddie Spindlow, Will Stevens, and Casper Stevenson are going to go through to that feature race. The rest will go to the consolation race.
Good stuff. Well, that is now our heat races done. 24 drivers currently on the grid for the feature race. 5 more will go through via a 3-lap consolation race. And in all honesty, I just hope 5 cars finish in that one, because that is going to be absolute chaos. While that race is happening, we're going to go back to another interview, our final interview of the program. This, my favorite one, I think, of the show. We're going to go and hear from one of the flag flies of women in motorsport over the last few years. Any budding young females looking to get into motorsport, I think you'll particularly enjoy this one. We'll go to Gemma Scott now, who's speaking with Alice Powell.
Alice, thank you so much for joining us. I want to go back to the beginning, if that's all right. I'm really intrigued to know where your passion and your love and your drive for motorsport initially came from.
So I started in go-karts when I was 8 years old, but prior to that, I was a huge racing fan from my first early memories, really. Schumacher, huge fan of touring cars, MotoGP, anything motorsport. You stick it on, I'd be sat there right in front of the TV glued to it. So it was probably a way of my parents shutting me up. They found that motorsport was the thing, and then once I went karting, I was just totally hooked and moved up to the levels of karting and then into cars when I was 15.
I love seeing women come through motorsport. Obviously, as a woman myself, I was born into a motorsport family. I was lucky, but I was never allowed to race. So I absolutely hold my hats up to you, because that was something I wanted, and I was absolutely, by my father, told, no, you will not. And he bought me a boat. Ridiculous.
Okay.
Anyway,
yeah.
This isn't about me. But what I am intrigued to know, obviously from karting, you went on through to then the junior series. You went through and you became the first woman to win within the Formula Renault Championship. And Formula Renault is certainly recognised as an incredible step on the ladder to Formula One.
Yeah, it was just such a great memory, and such, I managed to win the BARC Renault Championship here in the UK, and then in 2014 in Asia as well. So, I had some amazing memories in Formula Renault. It was a fantastic car, and the teams that I got to work with were just amazing.
And up until the W Series, women in motorsport race against men. Talk to me a little bit about women in motorsport in that respect of having the guys against the girls, or whether the girls should be separated.
It's like you said, it's unique. It's one of the few sports where women can compete against men. And the reason that the W Series, was kind of formed was to create more opportunities for females. So using myself as an example, when I won Formula Renault in 2014, I still wasn't able to get enough sponsorship to move up the levels of the ladder, and eventually, end of 2015 had to kind of stop racing just because of sponsorship. So, I was just doing a lot of coaching and kind of doing other work, working with my dad, who's a builder, to kind of just to rake in some more money as well as the coaching. And then W Series came along and created an opportunity for me to get back out racing. And it's helped massively. I got a one-off drive in IMSA last year, and also the Jaguar I-Pace e-Trophy this year. So it's not a barrier to say, okay, now I've gone to W Series, or I'm racing in W Series, I cannot compete against men again. I'm still competing against men in the I-Pace. It was just to create an opportunity to raise awareness for females in motorsport, and also to create opportunity as well.
For you, what is the ultimate goal?
So, prior to when I kind of stopped racing for 4 or 5 years, it was just forward Formula One only. I was just so determined to get to Formula One. I wasn't really looking at many other options. Aston Martin gave me the chance to race in the 24 Hours of Silverstone, and I really, really loved driving the car, but I was still kind of like, I want to get to Formula One. Whereas now, after having that break, it's kind of made me look back and say, look, you need to kind of not just have blinkers on. You need to open your mind up, and there's so many other great series out there.
Yeah.
And for me personally, now I'm just happy to be out racing. I had a taste of Formula E machinery with Envision Virgin Racing this year and absolutely loved it. So it's kind of a bit of a boring answer, really. My options are so open as to what to race.
Can I ask you a question though? Do you think a woman will ever get to Formula One? There's a lot of hype around Jamie Chadwick at the moment, and she's, I imagine, a friend of yours, if not a rival of yours. But do you think that can ever happen?
Yeah, 100%, you know, and you mentioned Jamie, she's a great driver. She obviously won W Series last year. You know, she's had great experience. She's moved on and she's racing in the Formula Regional Championship this year, you know, and I'm sure, 100% sure there will be a female in Formula One in the future. You know, I would even say probably in the next 4 years. So as I would love it to be myself, but, you know, I'd be definitely supportive of having other females because, you know, that's what it needs. It needs a role model for younger females to look up to and go, oh, actually, females can do it. I just thought it was just a male sport. And one thing is when we had our race last year in W Series at Brands Hatch, it was so nice to see the amount of young females kind of ranging from 3, 4 up to mid-20s coming along and saying, oh, we didn't know that girls could race, you know, we want to get involved. Especially the younger ones were saying, we want to go-karting. And, you know, that's what it was about. A lot of them didn't even realise that females could kind of race. So it was really, really nice to meet them all.
It's incredible to realise that we're still in the dark ages on that side of things, that girls don't realise they can race. But you are an ambassador for Dare to be Different, am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
So encouraging people to go out and do something that is a bit different and getting the girls out there racing as well. Exactly.
And the thing with that is that we at Dare to be Different, they show that it's not just about the driving side, but, you know, the mechanical side, the engineering side. There's so many different avenues to go down, because a lot of people think, oh, it's just about the driving, whereas actually there's a whole team and crew behind the driver, which is extremely important. So yeah, it's showing that it's not just the driving side, because I know some people don't enjoy it.
Well, certainly your passion shines through incredibly, and your talent as well. You know, you've done so well over the years, and I'm delighted to see you back out racing now after that break. Thank you so much for joining us today and for making time for the show. Really,
thank you very much.
And you know, as a fellow woman in motorsport, you know, I love the fact that these we can all stay united in some way.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant interview with Alice Powell there. Whilst that was going on, we did have our consolation race. The top 5 from this race go through to give us a 29 car field for the feature race. And the 5 drivers that gone through are Josh Malin, Cian Donaldson, Mohammed Ibrahim, Alfred Nilsson and Jack Crawford with a move on the final lap. So our driver who qualified pole position overall coming in to this round, Josh Malin, having to come through via the consolation race. And Ibrahim, of course, who was leading his heat race, picked up a drive-through penalty, wasn't able to serve that on the final lap. So Ibrahim was black flagged, hence he had to come into the consolation race. But he has just about managed to get through. He will be all the way down in 28th on the grid, though, for the feature race. We'll be able to bring you live points throughout this race. That's something the team working behind the scenes are giving us the privilege of being able to do. It's round 2 of 3. We've got some of our high point scorers from the first round down at the back there, and we've got some new faces towards the front as well. It's going to be a very interesting race. Let's all hope they get round in one piece. So this is the grid. Matthew Payne and Liam Lawson on row number 1. Mirko Bortolotti and Ramon Pinero, row 2. Ramez Azam and Ben Green, row 3. Harry Cottrell and Mike Epps, row 4. Bart Horston and Alex Connor will be row 5. Matty Hingley and Jonathan Hoggard will be just outside the top 10 on row number 6. Then we have Kiko Porto and Callum Wastin on row number 7. Luke Browning and James Goldstein are row 8. Row 9, Hugo de Sadalier and Freddie Spindlow. And rounding out the top 10 is the aforementioned Alice Powell and Anthony Mott. Will Stevens and Phil Dennis, they will be on row number 11. Then we have Dudu Barrichello and Casper Stevenson on row number 12. And then behind that, Josh Malin, Cian Donaldson, Mohammed Ibrahim, Alfred Nilsson and Jack Crawford. The final 5, of course, qualifying through via the consolation race. The points coming into this race, Hoggard leads on 30, then it's Lulham on 23, Bortolotti on 22, Horston 21, Mitchell is on 12. 10 laps around Nurburgring in V8 Supercars for round number 2 of the Ultimate eDriver Series. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic race. Lawson and Payne are going to be the 2 drivers. Oh, we've already got carnage going on in the background. James Goldstar, Harry Cottrell, has had a spin, unfortunately. Oh, and there's more contact. Let's go back to the leaders, though. Lawson is on the outside, Payne on the inside as the lights go green for round number 2 of the Ultimate eDriver Series. Down towards turn number 1 we go. Let's hope they all get through safely. Some of them haven't even made it to the start-finish line. Into turn number 1 we go. Bortolotti is going to go through into second, albeit briefly, as he goes into the gravel. We've got someone spinning round. Unfortunately, that looks like it might have been Hugo de Sadelier. I think they have spun round. So it's Payne, oh, more drivers spinning. Callum Voisin has gone round. Car park at the back of the field. Absolute carnage in the opening lap of the race, but we come to expect that with the V8 Supercars around Nurburgring. Look at this, 2 by 2 they go down towards the hairpin on lap number 1. Matty Hingley in the middle of all that. We've got Horston leading them, and there goes a very ambitious move, and that's Matty Hingley, I think one of the drivers who was off. In fact, who was that off? That was Kiko Porto, apologies, who was off into the gravel. All going off on this first lap, Jack. It's going to be, it's going to take us a lap or 2 to figure out what's happened here on the first half of lap.
If we go back to the front, Liam Lawson takes the lead. It was a fantastic start because Matthew Payne lit up the rear tyres to try and stay in front of Liam Lawson. So Liam Lawson slots in front, the 2 New Zealanders battling for the win. This is what we want to see. Here we go now. Can Matthew Payne come back in? And maybe as they come down towards the chicane, he's going to have a think about it on the inside. There's a 10-lap race, of course, mandatory pit stop, don't forget as well. So they've got to come in to the pits at least once, and we saw plenty of strategy play out last week. So now, here we go. Does anybody going to opt for the early stop like we saw last week? Bortolotti looking to the inside as Payne looks up the inside and Lawson at the same time. So the top 3 are away. Mike Epps is 4th, Ramon Pinero is 5th, Alex Connor, Ben Green, Luke Brown and Jonathan Hoggard. And then we have Matty Hingley in 10th place. So we run down the front straight away. It's Liam Lawson who leads. Matthew Payne in 2nd place. He's thinking about a move on his New Zealander compatriot. Bortolotti slotting in behind. Mike Epps catching up to them as well. This is going to make it for a 4-car battle. In the background, we look at Jonathan Hoggard, Luke Browning together, Matty Hingley, and all these guys. There's plenty going on. And Liam Lawson and Matthew Payne still out in the lead. Somehow, after all.
So our championship leader fighting for 9th place there, just down the field, Jonathan Hoggard, who took the win at the opening round there. He's down in 10th place at the moment, is Hoggard. So in terms of strategy, 10-lap race, they have 7 laps worth of fuel in the car. So that's the longest they can run. They can get to lap number 7 if they are ambitious enough. When they come in, they can come in on lap number 1. 7 laps isn't a full tank of fuel, so they can come in as early as they want, fill up the tank and then go back out. But I'd say we're expecting pit stops between lap 4 and 7 roughly, but we may see some drivers going for the early stop. As we look back here at Matty Hingley looking to the outside of Luke Browning, championship leader Jonathan Hoggard there. He's going to be on the outside now, coming in to the right-hander. Ramiz Azam is just behind this with Bart, Horston, Mott and Malin as well. Malin's made an absolutely fantastic start. He started all the way down at the back of the field. He's already up to 14th place, so he's got a chance to score some points here as Azam trying to look down the inside of Jonathan Hoggard, not quite able to get through. Oh, big contact there as Hoggard went to rejoin the circuit. We had someone cut across the circuit as well. Drivers now diving in. Hugo de Sadelier is one of those 3 drivers coming into the pits. We've got Luke Browning in the pit lane as well. De Sadelier is in the pits, Matty Hingley and Josh Mailing all in the pits. So 4 drivers that is going for the early stop at the end of lap number 2. Over to you, Jack.
Some apologies. I am having some small technical issues, so I'll try to do my best to keep up with the racing at the same time. So Bart Horston we look at in 10th, Jonathan Hoggard is 9th, and I think he's missing the rear off his car now. So somebody's come into contact with him as they come through, as he looks up the inside of Azam as they bang towards the chicane for the 3rd time. Hoggard slots ahead of Azam. So there's a big old battle happening. It's crucial points in the championship, don't forget. And then we have Azam behind. Then it's Bart Horston, then Anthony Mott just behind us now. Azam thinks about coming back at Hoggard. Horston just watching in the background to try and see if he can make any sort of move Our train as they come up towards the Schumacher S's. Hogarth just coming away a little bit now as they come up through the Schumacher S's for the third time. But Liam Lawson starting to open the gap out front. He's looking quite comfortable as on lap number 3 of 10. But as he said, we saw a few cars coming into the pit lane right there, and they won't be changing tyres. As wide goes Azam as he outbrakes himself. How many places is he going to lose? He's just going to lose out to Bart Horston around the outside. Then Mott is going to slot in just behind. He might be able to make a move through as well. But that's how quickly, if you're in a big old train, you make one mistake, you go wide, you're going to lose a lot of places. Here comes Mott now. He's going to have to go to the outside line of the chicane as they come down to the braking zone. Tries to get around the outside of Azam, but Azam defends it nicely. Very tricky to make a move to. There's a car round, and that is Ben Green who spun it on the exit of the chicane. He gets back going again, but he's losing spots a lot. He's going to come straight into the pit lane as a result of that one, and as well as that, Azam has also come into the pit lane. So that's how quickly you can drop spots. Going to promote a lot of guys up the order, but now we see Azam and Green into the pit lane.
Yeah, Ben Green in, I think sensible decision, having just had a spin. So all they are doing in the pits is taking fuel. They have 7 laps worth in the tank, so they have to come in after 7 laps. That's as far as they'll be able to go in this race. There is Alice Powell. We had an interview with her, great chat between herself and Gemma Scott. She's currently in 16th place. There's a lot of space around her as well. So Alice has a chance here just to get her head down now and start putting in those green sectors, trying to get those personal best laps. And once everyone's had a stop, you'll see where she ends up. So Alice Powell currently sitting in 16th. Third in last year's W Series was Alice Powell, and a former Formula Renault champion, as she spoke about in her interview. Great to have her with us for this one. Sarah Moore, another driver who came along to join us as well. And Alice Powell not far away from a points finish. Top 10 score points in this one. Virtual Championship sees Bortolotti leading the way with 37, Hogarth with 32, Lawson third with 30 points. So it is very close between the top 3 in the championship. Right, now what are the leaders going to do for pit stops? Are they going to go 5 laps and come in at the halfway point? Is some of them going to try and go a little bit early here on lap 4? Is some of them going to go a little bit longer? Let's see if any of them take a dive into the pits. No, they don't. I'd say Payne, he's going to wait to see what Lawson does. When Lawson comes in, that's when he might decide to stay out one more lap. Or if Lawson comes in, he may decide to follow in him as they come across now to start lap number 5. So we're coming up to the halfway point here in the feature race in these V8 supercars around Nurburgring. Liam Lawson is your leader. The 2 Kiwis, 1 and 2, with Payne behind. The championship leader Bortolotti in 3rd. Then we have Mike Epps in 4th place. Alex Connor in 5th. Ramon Pinero 6th. Hogarth 7th. Horston 8th. Mott 9th. And Nielsen 10th. Payne tried to close in on Liam Lawson. You can see about 3 or 4 car lengths is the gap as they now make their way down towards turn number 5 on lap number 5. Bortolotti, he's not too far behind this. He is currently your championship leader with 37 points. He's stayed consistent throughout the season so far. I know we only are 2 rounds in. We haven't even completed 2 rounds yet, but you do score points in both the heats and the feature race, so it's important to stay out of trouble all the way through the rounds now, something that was different in previous seasons. Oh dear, this is Hogarth now. He's missing that rear wing. Less important than what it looks, I can tell you that. And he's now going to be side by side with Bart Horston coming up to the Michael Schumacher S. Bart Horston sensibly decides to stay behind for the time being. So Bart Horston sat there in 7th. In front of him, Jonathan Hogarth in 6th. Not too sure if either of these have done a stop. I don't think they have. They've got to do that one stop. As here goes Horston down the inside into the right-hander. Is Horston going to be able to get the move done? No. He's going to be on the inside for the next flat-out turn. But if Hogarth can stay where he is, he'll be on the inside coming up to the chicane. And Horston is through, Jack.
Great move, lovely move down the inside. Hogarth's going to have to sit behind now, so he just shuts the door through the flat right-hander. So here's the leader of the guys who have stopped is Luke Browning. So he was the first to make, and he's leading the train of cars that have made a stop. Ramaz Azam and Ben Green, they've all made a stop. Remember, Ben Green spun. So Luke Browning is the guy we need to watch because Jonathan Hogarth is in. So the first of the leaders, first of the top 10 is Jonathan Hogarth, and he's going to come into the pit lane and take his stops. So it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Luke Browning because, of course, he was the first guy to take a stop. So here comes Hogarth down the pit lane as well. I think Voisin is also in 12th place. So down the pit lane they come. It's a long pit lane and it's a slow pit lane as well. Alice Powell into the pit lane as well. So Luke Browning, we need to watch for where he's going to come out. And I think he should be able to slot in front of both of these guys. Well, Hogarth's on the pit exit now. and Browning has come ahead. So Luke ahead of Hogarth, so now that's going to essentially mean that he's going to be all the way up in 7th or 8th. So here comes Hogarth. He's going to slot out behind Azam, ahead of Ben Green. So remember that Jonathan Hogarth was about 6th or 7th. So Luke Browning's in a very good spot at the moment.
Yeah, it's a very good spot, actually. You have to say Luke Browning could put himself into the top 5 here. All he's got to do is stay on track. This is the benefit of coming into the pits early. Don't forget, they don't change tyres, so the tyres go the full 10 laps. No one can change tyres. All they do is take on fuel. So doing an early stop doesn't really put you at a disadvantage. All it does is just mean you do your stop a little bit early, and Luke Browning has cleared any traffic around him, and that is why he is doing as good as he is. You see Casper Stevenson, the kart driver, is up the road from him, but quite a bit up the road. There is Casper Stevenson. He is yet to do his stop. As Jack said, Luke Browning is the first of the drivers to have done a pit stop. Now, I think everyone should be coming in the next lap. They only get 7 laps worth of fuel, so the leaders have decided to use all of that fuel and then stop right at the end. So they're going to be running on lower fuel now, almost an empty tank they'll be on. So this is really when they should be setting some of their faster lap times. So we look back at Liam Lawson, he's actually pulled a little bit more of a gap now, hasn't he? You can see that gap has definitely extended over to Payne and Bortolotti as well. Bortolotti hasn't exactly been closing in on Payne. So, Jack, you have to say Liam Lawson doing a fantastic job out front.
Yeah, he's led every single lap. He's had to fight off the advances from Matthew Payne as well. He had to make an overtake on Matthew Payne, so he hasn't led quite every single lap, but he had to make an on-track overtake to get past Matthew Payne, but he's led since then. Bortolotti's just been hanging in there in 3rd place. Mike Epps is kind of on his own there in 4th place. An excellent job inside the top 5 at the moment. Yes, the leaders do have to come in on this lap, so just keep updated on Luke Browning where he is. He's 11th now, and all of the top 10 are going to have to pit on this lap, so it's going to be really intriguing to see how the early stop will benefit Luke Browning, if it will benefit him at all, because the lap times from Liam Lawson at this lap has been really, really good. He's really opened the gap out to Matthew Payne right now, so he's going to peel into the pit lane onto the right-hand side after he comes into the last chicane here. And he'll be going straight through, getting a top up in the tank, just enough for 3 laps of racing. In he comes then. In comes Matthew Payne, in comes Bortolotti, in comes the entire top 10. I think Bortolotti was trying to stay out there, but I think he remembered that he doesn't have enough fuel. So in comes Liam Lawson, in comes Matthew Payne, Bortolotti, Mike Epps. All of the top 10 are coming in. We need to watch for Luke Browning, where he's going to come out, or even if Matthew Payne is going to jump anybody in the pit stops. It's going to be interesting to watch as they come through to the last couple of laps of the race.
Yep, this is going to be what you call in racing a splash and dash. Not a lot of fuel is going to have to go in for these guys now. Just a little bit of fuel to see them through the rest of the race. Right, this is important now. Luke Browning, the leading driver who has made a stop. Where does he come out in relative to the leaders? Oh dear, a slight mistake into the chicane, but I'd say in V8 Supercars terms, that is absolutely fine. As he comes around the final corner, there's a little bit of a traffic jam at the end of the pit lane. These guys are coming out at the top of screen. Do we see Luke Browning? Not quite, but of course these guys are now going to be slower through the first couple of corners. Luke Browning's going to be coming in at speed. Let's see how far behind he is. I can tell you he's about 2 corners back is Luke Browning. There he is. So Luke Browning is actually going to get up to 6th place now, so he has made a place there, and that was on Alex Connor, but Alex Connor is going to come straight back past him. These two will know each other from racing in the British F4 Championship last year, and Alex Connor dives back down the inside of Browning. So he's closed the gap as Browning. He's made a few places with it as well. Now he's going to be fighting with Alex Connor for 6th place.
Well, Bortolotti took the lead in the pit lane, and Liam Lawson takes it straight back in the hairpin. So Bortolotti had a fantastic pit stop, but Liam Lawson slots back in front as they came out of the pit lane. Bortolotti just slotted in front of Liam Lawson and Matthew Payne at the same time, but Lawson takes it straight back now as they head towards 2 laps to go next time by across the line. So Lawson's had to fight for it again to retake that lead. But all that, look how close Mike Epps is now. He's in 4th place, and the pit stops have brought him right into this battle for the podiums. He's had a great pit stop, and we'll see how he's able to get on now. Some of these guys may have taken just a touch less fuel, so maybe they may have to do some fuel saving. Some of them may have to do some fuel saving in the final lap. But now Bortolotti is holding up Matthew Payne. He's holding up Mike Epps because Liam Lawson has already moved in front. He's already built a small lead, a slender lead, as you can see. So Matthew Payne's got his work cut out now. Onto lap number 9 of 10 as Bortolotti gets the rear end out as they come towards the end of lap 8 onto lap 9. Matthew Payne's got to start thinking about a move now and hold on to his position of second place. Bortolotti making the moves in the pit lane to the inside. Matthew Payne, does he go up the inside? Yes. Bortolotti leaves the space, getting it stopped on the brakes. Bortolotti trying to come back on the inside, but he leaves the door open, and Matthew Payne get way out as they come side by side through there, but Matthew Payne comes out in second place, and now he can attempt to try to close down the gap to Liam Lawson, but he's built a second gap right now. Let's see if Mike Epps can get that podium.
In championship terms, this is still good news for Mirko Bortolotti. He's still got a good advantage in the championship, so we'll check in with the championship points at the end of the race. But so far, he's been very consistent this season. There he is in third place, but as Jack said, Epps could be the one to watch now. He's closed in on these guys. He is in fourth place. Lawson is away. Really, this is a battle for the last 2 spots on the podium, and sadly, one of these guys is going to miss out on that podium as they make their way through the Michael Schumacher S. Now, Mike Epps in fourth, trying to close in on Payne and Bortolotti ahead. Then a gap back to Alex Connor in fifth, Browning in sixth place. We're coming up towards the final lap of the race, and it's going to be a fantastic battle for the last 2 spaces on the podium, I'm sure. Jack.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So Lawson away out front in the lead. Matthew Payne secure at the moment in second place, but Liam Lawson on course to take his first win in the championship in the brand new, the first race that we've had in a non-single seater category, and he's going to try and make himself away and try to keep himself in that first place. No mistakes can he make from now on. And Bortolotti trying to hold on to that third place because he's dropping into the clutches. There's a tad now of Mike Epps across the line onto lap 10. Liam Lawson, Matthew Payne, Mirko Bortolotti, Mike Epps, Alex Connor, Luke Browning, Ramaz Azam, Bart Horston, Ben Green and Jonathan Hoggard are your top 10 in this race. But Liam Lawson's done an incredible job to hold on to that lead. He had to make the move just on the previous lap to get past Mirko Bortolotti, who got a fantastic pit stop. But it's going to be now. We look back at Ramaz Azam up the inside of Luke Browning for 6th place, and he gets it done because Browning goes way too deep, and Azam slots into 6th place. Been a good race for Ramaz Azam, one of the best we've seen in a little while from him. Of course, he was fighting for the championship all the way back in the May isolation series, or the April isolation series, excuse me, all the way back in April when we started this. And Ramaz Azam in 6th place in these V8 Supercars. Luke Browning behind him, Bart Horston, then Ben Green, then Jonathan Hoggard. So Bart Horston going to gain some points in Jonathan Hoggard, but Hoggard's still going to score points, and he will still lead the championship as we head away. And of course, they'll do the calculations in the background as well. Usually my maths is quite wrong. So Liam Lawson leads away out front.
Yeah, I was going to say, live championship, 37 for Bortolotti, 31 for Hoggard, and 30 for Liam Lawson. So that is the live championship points. So this driver, with a win, he didn't score any points at round number 1, but this win and 5 points in the first heat, a win in the heat and a win in the feature race is going to bring him up to 3rd in the championship. This has been perhaps the toughest test we have seen. This is the ultimate eDriver series. We're looking for the ultimate racing driver, and Liam Lawson has just put himself in the running for the championship as he comes around the final corner. Round 2 victory is going to go to Liam Lawson as he comes across the line. Brilliant performance, a maximum score for him, and he goes all the way up to 3rd in the championship and celebrates it in style as well. Payne will be 2nd. Bortolotti, he will be the new championship leader in 3rd place. Epps finishes 4th. Connor in 5th place. That is Hoggard, unfortunately, having to come into pit lane, so he will drop out the points. Azam is 6th, Horston 7th, Browning 8th, Green 9th, and Hoggard, unfortunately, coming into the pits, I think will drop out the top 10 there, Jack.
Yeah, looks like it. He will be classified as 10th at the moment, but coming across the line now, Will Stevens, Matty Hingley, Alfred Milson, Harry Cottrell, Cian Donaldson, Casper Stevenson and Alice Powell in 21st place. She'll come across the line. Been a terrible, this is probably one of the, because we're so used to performances from Mohamed Ibrahim, but this is the first time I've seen a non-finish in a race in a long time, and we saw that we were talking earlier about the donuts. Well, they're giving us plenty of it in turn 1 in these V8 Supercars, and I'm sure the guys love these things. They are incredible machines, and tandem donut going on there between a couple of the guys right there. Hugo de Sadalier doing it, Anthony Mott, and a couple of others, Bart Horston involved in that one. But Liam Lawson takes an amazing victory. I don't know who that was. I think that was Alice Powell steaming into turn 1 at full speed. But yeah, great job. And the New Zealanders take a 1 and 2 in the Aussie V8s. So I'm sure they'll be very over the moon with that one.
Well, I think that was pretty good, wasn't it? Brilliant stuff, a brilliant challenge. And next week, we're going to have a completely new car and track combination as well. It was IndyCars at Silverstone. That was pretty good. And now V8 Supercars at Nurburgring. I wonder what is going to be next, which will be the end of the season as well. Next Monday, we'll be crowning our ultimate racing driver. I need to lie down after all that racing. Fantastic stuff. It was Bortolotti is now the championship leader ahead of Hoggard, Lawson, Horston, Lullen, Payne, Epps, Azam, Mitchell and Connor. But let's get some reaction. It was a pretty chaotic evening. Lots of reaction to come. So Gemma Scott, over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, that really was a lot of action, wasn't it, boys? That was quite something, seeing everybody slip sliding around there. And I do believe our third place finisher, Mike Epps, is standing by. Mike, what an incredible evening. And that certainly showed us how tough these V8 cars are to handle. Oh, Mike, have we got you there?
Yeah, sorry. I think
no worries.
Mid-conversation. How's it going?
Great to have you back with us, Mike. The handling of those cars looked pretty tough.
Yeah, they're quite different. I was literally, just as you moved me in, I was chatting to Liam, the winner. As we're both, I'm half Kiwi, so
oh, okay.
We connect. I suppose I always try to stay in touch with various New Zealand drivers. So yeah, I've not really driven these until today. Obviously, with the nature of this series, you kind of just get thrown in the deep end, and I really enjoyed it. You have to be super gentle with the throttle and take your time with it, and it's a proper weapon of a car if you light the rears up. So yeah, it's been really good fun. Hasn't quite gone how I wanted, because I was able to equal Liam in practice pace, but quali and the race starts just didn't quite go to plan.
I'm interested to know actually about how tough this challenge is, because we've set you the challenge now where you're not allowed to know the circuit or the track ahead of Monday. You know, you've got such a limited amount of time to test. How much pressure does that add?
It definitely adds some pressure, but I quite like it because it spices things up. I think without any of that pressure and just the ability to practice and practice and practice, it kind of becomes a bit robotic and a bit boring. You know, there's a couple other series where, you know, some of the drivers will be driving for 3 days straight, you know, probably taking like anti-sleep tablets or something to do more laps, God knows. But, you know, they'll do hours and hours. And I like the nature of this. Obviously, there is a slight sting in the tail where someone who may have driven that car a lot by chance may have a slight advantage, but that's no different to any real life approach, is it?
No, absolutely not. You're right there. And I think, you know, like you say, practice is a massive part of the game in motorsport. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of time to get out there and practice in this particular series. So it's all putting you to the test. Thank you very much, Mike, for joining us once again. Great to have you on board as part of the championship. And I'm going to cross over now to Liam Lawson, fellow Kiwi, as Mike did introduce there. I hadn't realised you were both on flying the Kiwi flag there, but I knew you were, Liam, but I didn't know Mike was. Liam, from open cockpit cars, the Formula 3 cars, to this, and tonight you chose to race in the Holden. Talk to me about that decision.
I think underneath they're both identical, so I'm pretty sure anyway it's very close at least. So it was more of a I just like to look at the Holden. That's why I drove it. And the supercar, obviously being from New Zealand, you know, New Zealand and Australians, they live and breathe Australian V8 supercars. It's something that everybody watches. So, and I've watched for a lot of years, and so I've driven quite a lot. But I was quite surprised actually. There were, you know, everyone did a really good job. Obviously, finding out the car and track today, and having only a few hours to test, everyone was really close.
It was close, and again, the cars looked tough. I said to Mike earlier that they certainly didn't look easy to handle. You know, you've got to be very careful on the brakes by the look of things. Yeah,
braking is really hard. Obviously, these things, they have aero, but barely anything, and especially nothing compared to the F3 car we've been driving mostly. So braking, super difficult. Traction is awful. The thing's got so much horsepower, and it's really hard to get the power down. So out of some corners, you take like up to 3 seconds to get from nothing to full throttle. You have to be really patient. So the cars are really difficult to drive, but they're really fun, and the racing's really close. Obviously, there's no aero wash or anything like that you get in open wheelers, so you can get right up beneath people, and I think the racing's really good.
Well, you guys certainly put on a good show. Thank you very much, Liam, for joining us once again. Great to have you back with us. Let's bring in Mirko Bortolotti into the conversation, because Mirko, that looked like a super duper race. You certainly put on a great performance and pulled it through to finish in the points. Can you hear me, Mirko? Are you there?
Oh yeah, I'm here. Hi guys.
Yay, we've got you. You must be tired because you did the 24 Hours of Le Mans this weekend.
Yeah. Actually, it's been a busy weekend, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. So, fortunately, I'm not on the podium for this race. I got a penalty, so I'm not out of the points actually.
But you were running in third position for a fair chunk of that race, and again, it certainly was a challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these cars are quite fun to drive, but at the same time, quite painful because if you push that little bit over the edge, you're just losing so much time. And yeah, it's quite interesting actually to race with these cars, and it's good fun. But yeah, bit of a shame for me this race. Unfortunately, it didn't go like it should have gone. But anyway, it's good fun to be here, and thanks for the invitation.
Is it a circuit that you know well, Nurburgring?
Yeah, generally we're racing quite often at the Nurburgring. This year, not only on the GP track like we did today, but also on the Nordschleife. So yeah, it's quite a cool track, quite a track that we get to drive quite a lot during the year. So yeah, I would say I know it quite well.
Well, you certainly put on a good show for us tonight. Thank you very much, Mirko. Great to have you as part of our interview series with the drivers there post-race. And I'd just like to cross over now, if I can, to Alice Powell. Alice, we spoke earlier on in the week about the challenges of jumping in and out of different cars. And I think that really showed that's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's been a lot of fun. It was a hell of a lot of fun. So I'd definitely love to come back next week and have a go. But yeah, God, those cars were a handful, and I really enjoyed the format. And I think a lot of us haven't got time to kind of sit on a sim all day, so it's fun to find out last minute about the car and last minute about the track. But no, I loved it. I had so much fun. Just trying to keep out of trouble. That's a task itself.
Well, at one point you were moving quite high up, and I was convinced you were going to be in the points. What happened?
Well, I went into the pad, I boxed, and then I had a semi-spin, and then, just totally lost a load of time through that, and I think I got a tap at the start as well, and got sent round, so it was just so busy. It was so busy, but yeah, next time, hopefully, fingers crossed.
There was a lot of contact tonight, that's for sure. Just doing this, is it almost giving you the flavour of, actually, I wouldn't mind jumping into a V8 and doing a bit more, because you've done single-seaters, you've done IMSA, you've done various different bits and bobs. Does that now make you want to head over to Australia and do some V8s?
100%. I was running the on my trading paints the old Walkinshaw livery, and I just thought the cars just look so cool, especially with that livery. And I was on a chat with Sarah Moore, and we were saying, should we go? Let's go to Oz. Let's go and have a go at these cars, because they are great fun for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Alice. Great to have you on board with us, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Definitely. Thank you.
Ramon Pinero, who we spoke to earlier on the programme, is joining us right now. Ramon, again, showing what you're capable of, but certainly I think we put you to the toughest test tonight, all of you.
Well, tonight was extremely tough. I didn't get along with the car at all. I was just very lucky into the first corner in the first hit. I could manage to put myself into P2, P3, and then just hold it from there, to be honest. It was really, really tough, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Tough because of the car. Would you regret choosing the Holden? Should you have gone for the Ford?
I don't think it would have made any difference, to be honest. I mean, I was struggling with everything, with the brakes, with the power, with the steering wheel. It was a nightmare. But it was still fun anyway. It was a good laugh.
It certainly was a good laugh, and it was great for us to watch. Thank you very much, Ramon. Lovely to hear from you. Wonderful racing tonight, seeing the Ford against the Holden, seeing, that passion that lives through in so many motorsport fans' hearts. Anthony Mott is standing by. Anthony, talk to me about that experience tonight. Everybody's saying that was just super tough. Oh, have we got Anthony? I'm not hearing him at the moment. Can you hear me, Anthony? I'm not sure that we've got the technical ability there with Anthony. We've lost him, unfortunately. But how about that? You know, for me, the passion between the Ford and the Holden rivalry, you know, the story of that into Australian motorsport is just incredible. And it's something that we all know is going to continue over the years. And to see the drivers' choices tonight was interesting as well, between choosing which car they wanted. Chris, Jack, what do you make of that then tonight, guys?
Well, it was interesting, wasn't it? I think it was challenging. I think that's the word that keeps coming up in this championship. Here's a challenge. Here's a car on track that you've probably never done before. Now go and take it on and race it. And that's the challenge of doing it, and why we've given it the title it is. It's V8 Supercars is around Nurburgring is probably something we wouldn't really see. So why don't we give it to you all? That's the whole point of esports. Just to quickly run through the points I'm looking at now. Hoggard on 32, Lawson on 30, Horston on 29, and then 23 points for both Lulham and Payne, and Bortolotti on 22. So very close for that final round.
It certainly was. Thank you very much, Chris. And, you know, like I said, incredible racing. You guys out there voted for the V8 Supercars, and what a sight it was to see them racing tonight at the Nürburgring. If only we'd had a few extra hours, perhaps we could have sent them around the Nordschleife. That would have been awesome. Next week, of course, we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, at the same time. Where, I don't know, and in what, again, who knows. But imagine the possibilities. Trucks around Laguna Seca, maybe? Who knows? We'll find out next week. We'll see you then. Take care.